for it to recognize that there's a tape of some type in it. But it appears it's pulled a VCR and eaten the tape. Okay, so I don't know what's going on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try power cycling the drive with the tape in it. It looks like tape would need to drop down, which it just did. This drive just sucked in the tape. Okay, it spat it out and sucked it back in, and now it's sitting in the unloaded stage. Okay, now it's doing some wacky stuff, which I don't think I've ever seen it do before. It does seem to be acting a bit differently. It does seem to be taking longer to perform its self-test and initialization process. And speaking of self-test and initialization, I imagine that controller card will add a rather creative initialization screen to my boot up process. The next time it spits the tape out, I'm going to nab it. It's behaving a bit strangely. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it down and power it up with no tape inserted. Okay. I imagine it would probably be good to actually insert a tape into this when it's connected to a SCSI controller. So, how do you suppose that I go get my main computer, plug that thing in here, and let's go ahead and install another controller card in it. Okay, everybody, we're back. Let me see, what time is it? 12:58. Probably an hour and a half, close to 2 hours later. Tape drive is now over there because I moved it. I bet I just gave half of y'all vertigo. And what we're looking at here is the inside of my main computer with the case cover sitting on top of one of the tapes. Yeah, right here is the LSI 22320 SLE controller card, and if you notice, something's a little bit finicky about it. Yes, that is this card had a low profile bracket on the back installed onto the back of it. And what I eventually did is I took this slot blank from an old Dell Dimension 2400. The last video ever featuring that particular computer was Dell Dimension 2400 USB controller troubles, or something along the lines of that. And I cut that up, and the actual bracket, I unbent the part where it turns 90 degrees to go here. I unbent that, put the card in, and then I took this and I shoved it down in there and then screwed it in tight. Now it looks like it's touching a pin, however it's not. And yeah, this camera's CCD gets very grainy very quickly, but I will guarantee you that is not touching a pin. In fact, that is actually touching the bracket of the sound card, which doesn't work, by the way. I believe it might have a faulty analog to digital digital to analog converter. I have no idea where I was getting analog to digital from. I know that card right there also does not work. It doesn't even show up in LSPCI, so I bet that card is 110% borked. There's our cable here, and there's a tape drive. I'll need to take this tape drive and go all the way in here. And it's going to go in that cubby hole right there. Probably sometime tomorrow, but for the time being, we'll fire it up in here. Fire it up in here, we'll hook up that monitor to it. OE. Interesting. But we'll drag that monitor out and hook it up to this thing. Maybe. Depends on if it has a DVI input, which it does. So I'll go braid the exactly one DVI cable I have. We'll hook that up. You know what? No. We'll be hooking that up in my room. And we'll just kind of have the tape drive shoot off to the side with its cable, probably stick it on my bed and watch me expertly trip over it and send the whole setup smashing to the floor. Not. So, if you're hearing additional noise, our air handler just switched on. So, here's a cable. I did do a test fit here, and we are more or less structurally stable. Don't want to get rambunctious with it, but then again, you generally don't want to get rambunctious with any of the other connectors on this mess. So, anyways, we'll pop the side cover on it, everything hooked up, and we'll be back. Hey everybody, we're back here in my room, if you can't tell. There's my fancy new monitor, an LG 32ML600M-B. We're back here in my room. I have not switched on my main computer. Let's go ahead and switch on monitors. That 60 cycle noise you heard was my Gateway EV700 CRT monitor coming up. I'm going to dim the lights. My monitor's complaining that it doesn't have any signal coming in on its HDMI port. Well, that'd be because my computer's off. So let's go ahead and I'm going to start up my computer. I should probably turn the power switch on. So the monitor immediately comes up, and I think we'll be diving into setup. Oh, there we go. There is the LSI 22320 SLE controller card initialization and sign-on screen, and well, I can tell you the white balance is completely wrong right now, but alrighty, let me fix this white balance. There we go. LSI Logic MPT SCSI Setup Utility, version 5.07.03. Alrighty. Boot order 0 IRQ on the side. Go ahead and switch on the tape drive, and there we go. The tape drive immediately came up. Alrighty. Scanning for devices. I may or may not have that hooked up there. So let's go and look at the other port. See if that returns anything different. Termination control auto. This is the first time this card has electrically powered on. This card was manufactured sometime in 2008, and it has been in its factory packaging ever since. This card was mechanically woken up, i.e. removed from its factory packaging earlier tonight, and this will be the first time this card will have electrically powered on in almost 12 years. Host SCSI ID, okay. Okay, I'm definitely not familiar with this. Specifies how cylinder head sector values will be mapped onto a disc with no pre-existing. Specifies a removable media support for an adapter. Maybe page down. No. Minus. Boot drive. With media installed. Okay. Discard and exit this menu. Boot adapter list. What about some global properties? Pause when boot alert displayed. Now we have monochromatic mode and color mode. Verbose and terse. Escape. Discard changes exit menu. I don't know if it's gonna end up rebooting. Yep, it rebooted the computer. So we'll try to head on into setup. There's the controller card signing on, searching for devices, and looks like it found something. I'll close the shutter. And we'll immediately head straight to settings. Either that or, well, either that, we're going to back out of that. Board Explorer. Unknown vendors network controller. Okay, this slot is empty. This right here is my wireless card. This here claims to be an Intel Corporation host bridge. So we're going to go ahead and kick on out of that. Drive is still complaining for some reason. I don't know what happens if we feed it a tape at this point. Time, shutter again. And then we're going to go ahead and let Linux bring everything up. And it looks like my main monitor, my other monitor just kicked on. I just stuck a tape into the tape drive and power cycled it. That's not it. And now the drive is doing rather creative things. I do fully expect the controller card to show up in LSPCI. Got some stuff that I need to wrangle into place. Now the controller card. Generate custom mode lines for my third monitor. And here I was jacking with Mod Probe and a couple of custom panels. So we'll go ahead and run LSPCI. ISA page, that's weird. Ah, SCSI storage controller. There it is. SCSI storage controller. We'll go ahead and reset the white balance. Broadcom LSI/LSI 53C1030 PCIX Fusion MPT Dual Ultra 320 SCSI. This thing is the tape drive is still deciding whether or not it wants to be funny or not in regards to tapes. So I'm just gonna let it sit there and do its own thing. So let's go ahead and fire up an instance of Google Chrome. Extremely bright screen warning. And then we're going to go ahead. Yes, I do have custom CSS themes applied using an extension called Stylus. So we'll go ahead and install LSCSI Fuse Proc Info, MTX, MTST, PV, and M buffer. LSCSI Fuse Proc Info, MTX, MTST, M buffer, I think it is. Wants a password. Fuse, LSCSI, and PV are already the newest versions. Now let's go ahead and get the 748 kilobytes of additional archives. For some reason, even though I have the tape drive attached to a controller card, it's still flashing the drive light. And pressing the eject button only serves to make the tape light flash in tandem. So power cycle it. Alrighty, and we need to go ahead and load the go ahead and load up the ST kernel module. Hey, there it is. Tape. HP Ultrium 2 SCSI. S65D on Dev ST0. And this drive is being rather cantankerous at the moment. Okay, everybody, we're back. It is 9:22 p.m. on Sunday, April 12th, 2020. And unfortunately, it looks like we have hit kind of a major snag. So, what was going on is a drive, whenever it would come up with a flashing drive error or fault light, which indicated that there was a hardware problem in the drive. A hardware or mechanism problem in the drive. And believe me, there is definitely a mechanism problem with the drive. So, about 8 hours of Googling and YouTubing later, we have finally come to the conclusion of what was wrong, or of what is wrong with this particular drive. So you see this over here? This is the take-up reel inside the drive. This take-up reel has a clear lead-in tape attached to it. At the end of this lead-in tape, usually located somewhere in here, there is a device attached to the end of the tape that stops it from sliding back into the tape mechanism or the tape path, unless the leader pin from an LTO2 tape has made a physical connection with the stop device. Now, what happened is, somehow, somewhere, sometime, this clear lead-in tape, you might be able to see it. I'll move my mouse cursor over to it. This clear lead-in tape was completely removed from this tape drive. I do not know how that could possibly happen, other than the drive experiencing a rather catastrophic sensing failure and failing to sense the end of the tape, slamming into it at full speed, thus ripping the lead-in tape off of the drive and sending it with the tape as it was ejected from the drive. Either that or somebody opened it up and yanked the thing out, but that could not have possibly happened because the warranty seal was still valid up until today. So the only possible reason for this being missing is that there is a catastrophic sensing failure or mechanical failure of some type, resulting in the clear lead-in tape being violently ripped from the take-up reel and subsequently exiting the drive with the final tape that was successfully used in it. And probably resulting in a rather displeased sysadmin and systems administrator. Now, if we back the zoom of the camera way off and go ahead and take this off the tripod, and then we'll head to my tech room. Somebody is letting my dog Landon outside. Oh, the focus is going. But if we look at this particular example of this drive, there is no clear lead-in tape. This should not be able to freely spin like this at all. So, yeah. It seems our tape head has jammed, but that's likely under some kind of electromechanical control. So, yeah, it'd be fun to spin this up to stupid speeds and see how fast we can get. Oh, I've already started unscrewing it. You know, you would figure that this would be reverse threaded. But yeah, this is a take-up reel, and this should have a clear lead-in tape attached to it. Now, what I mean by the leader pin on the tape is literally a pin at the beginning of the tape. See, there is a metal pin with the tape looped around it and permanently affixed to itself in a manner that permanently attaches it around this leader pin. There is a mechanical device on this tape drive that interacts with that leader pin and serves to mechanically hook onto it. So if we shove it in here and we manually actuate the mechanism, tape drops down and we can see this black thing. There are two pins on it. There are two metal pins on it that go into the hole where the leader pin resides. Alrighty everybody, today is Thursday, April 16th, 2020, and here is the replacement tape drive, still sealed in the USPS box. Let's go ahead and get this open, as if I wasn't trying do that earlier. And the first thing we see is a big giant block of this pink anti-static foam. Yeah, it definitely smells like anti-static foam. Alrighty. Hopefully we don't have anything in here that causes us to have to unexpectedly shut the camera off or quickly adjust the camera's viewing angles, require the use of a blurring tool or other similar things. So we have a massive block of this regular bubble wrap packaging, and this is considerably heavier than the old drive. Oh yeah, this is definitely regular old. Regular foam, and this is definitely a much higher quality drive. Alrighty. This is a nice steel box. And just like the drive David Phantom sent me, the shipping company has expertly pushed in this front blanking plate. But that's nothing a quick use of that's nothing a flathead screwdriver won't readily be able to fix. Hopefully I don't break it. Okay, there we go. It's a bit bent. Alrighty, an HP StorageWorks Ultrium 448 LTO2 tape drive. This camera is not in a good spot for me to see it. Okay, they're saying. Yep, it does look like we have a plastic lead in. Alright. There's no tape in here. Okay. This is a rather heavy drive. The drive itself is already pretty heavy, but you throw the metal casing in and holy smokes. There is a standard IEC C13 electrical power connector. We have these 4 massive rubber feet here at the bottom of this rather gargantuan drive. We have the SCSI ID. It is currently set to 6. I believe I'm going to take a pair of tweezers and go ahead and bump that back down to the factory default of 2. Let's see how high the SCSI ID can get. 15 is the highest the SCSI ID can get on this particular drive. Alrighty. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws, and this cover comes off. I'm gonna blow my back out working with this gargantuan sized beast. If I'm not careful. We got a Torx T10. Just like the last drive is what readily gets us in here. It's not that plastic clipped together junk. Seriously, I hate plastic clips and tabs. Why? Because the stupid things will break if you happen to look at them wrong. Alrighty, the previous drive was manufactured sometime in 2007. Well, at least the enclosure and everything. This particular drive was actually manufactured the 37th week of 2005. So it is definitely an older drive, which explains why the other one was plastic cased instead of, because the HP, the Hewlett Packard Corporation, cheaped out. And let me tell you what, they did not cheap out at all with this drive. Looks like they have a, good lord, they got a fan grill on there. Alrighty, immediately right off the bat, we have some kind of a toroidal inductor style EMI RFI filtering device on the cable going to the interface board. We have some hot glue, which we'll eschew out of there. Looks like the drive itself is on some type of a mounting sled instead of just being directly bolted in. We have a nice thick shielded, maybe a shielded cable going from the power supply to the drive, well, to the interface board and to the drive and all that great stuff. We have these nice metal spring tabs that allow the cover to be easily removed. Okay, you know what? We're not going to take the tape drive out of its housing. Alright, it does seem like the fan in here is not seized up, which is excellent. Alright, I took a screw out on the side. Go back in real fast. Take these two screws and we put them back in. At least I have a spare tape drive enclosure I can use for something. And given that these are screws equipped with real locking washers, they won't go from 0 to tighten 0.2 nanoseconds. Alrighty. Okay, so we'll go ahead and plug it back in. Okay. Now I'd say we leave the cover off, and let's go and connect up electrical power to this thing. Why? Because why not? Oh, I also unbusticated the cover a little bit. Power switch should be off. Okay, the power switch still seems to be implemented in the same fashion. The other drive's power switch is implemented in because the lights dimmed when I plugged it in. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. I get a spinning doodah at the front. A flashing light. The drive is now ready. That fan is quite loud. So let's go ahead and shove a tape in it. Okay, what's it doing? Okay, it spat it out for some reason. Reader pin is where it used to be. Let's eject. Okay. That one doesn't seem to want to move. kick the tape out. Okay, let's unwrap a brand new tape. Reader pin is in place. Into the drive we go. Okay, it immediately spat it out. Let's try this one. Hey, it loaded! Apparently I apparently have to shove it in there more aggressively. So let's unload. Rewinding. Okay, let's try more aggressively shoving the other tapes in. Okay. And that one loaded! That fan is extremely annoying. Because that's putting off a tone at like the 600 hertz mark, and oh my god. Something has got to be done about that fan immediately. I might just... What I'm going to do is I'm going to eject that tape, I'm going to turn the drive off, I'm going to unplug it, I'm going to unplug the fan, and then we're going to try this all over again. Yeah, it's a sleeve bearing fan for sure. Probably a pretty good sleeve bearing fan though. Okay. Unplug this stupid hot glue junk off of here. Okay, let's try this whole operation again. Okay. So now we'll be able to hear the general noises of its day-to-day operation better. So the drive initializes. It begins the initialization process. And it's ready. Okay, so we've verified that that tape is loaded successfully. So we'll go ahead and put the tape back in the cartridge. We'll put the tape back into its case, and we'll take this and aggressively shove it in there yet again. That must have been a rewrite head. Okay, I just power cycled the drive of the tape loaded, so it's going to go ahead and rewind the tape. And this will simulate what happens if there is a power cycle to the drive. Like say my power blips while the tape's loaded. Okay, it sounds like it's rewinding, albeit rather slowly. But you kind of have to aggressively shove the tape into the drive or else it's not going to load properly. It's not going to go back far enough into the drive, and then you're kind of going to have a bad time. And you see a blue sticker right here touting HP's OBDR, or one button disaster recovery, where you take an ISO formatted tape and you shove it in the drive, and then you hold eject and turn on the drive's power. And then you can use it to restore a server that has been, whose operating system installation has been wrecked by something. Okay, let's wait for this thing to initialize. We'll be right back. Or I guess not. Okay, so it's unloaded the tape. And it's sucked it back in. And it's ready now. See, it does a slow rewind. So let's unload it. Alrighty. And now we're going to verify that the other two tapes load. So that one loads, that one loads, that one loads. Not exactly sure about this one yet. Have to find out. Right, another 400 gigabyte tape. There we go. That one loads. So we'll go ahead and unload that. And we'll unseal the last tape. Unsealing all these tapes does generate quite a bit of plastic wrapping mess. Verify the leader pin. There we go. And there we go. Now on this particular drive, the spring that's supposed to hold this door shut is no longer present. I don't know if it has been broken over time or if it wore out and just simply got ripped out by a rather annoyed operator or what happened. But all 5 of those tapes do load successfully. So we will power off the drive. I'll go ahead and plug the fan back in, the rather annoyingly loud one of that. And I'll put the cover back on, and the next time we see, and the next time the video camera's rolling it'll be in my room hooked up to a computer. Alrighty, we're here at my computer. The tape drive is fully connected up, both power and data cabling. However, I have not turned it on yet. Okay, the first thing we're going to do Alrighty. So we're gonna fire this off with sudo. HP Hewlett-Packard Library and Tape Tools. So we're gonna go ahead and power up the drive, and I'll go grab a tape real quick. I grabbed all the tapes instead. Okay. Hardware scan. Scanning. For some reason it's not detecting the drive. And something on an address. We'll choose 9. Okay. Complain that it doesn't support it real quick. So I'll reboot my computer and we'll be right back. Okay, I've rebooted the computer, and right now we're currently sitting in the Adaptec controller cards setup utility. And the device is definitely there. Go in here and scan for devices. Head into here we can see the adapter properties. We'll head in here, and right up here is the HP Ultrium 2 SCSI S24D. Configured for a transfer rate of 320 megabytes a second. The actual drive transfer rate is probably going to differ from that by quite a value. So we'll go ahead and back out of here and exit the config utility, and it resets the machine. The adapter BIOS is going to come up now. And we're going to invoke it because I want to look at the global properties. F2. Boot adapter list. Okay, this is neat. Okay, next boot on. Mobile properties. Pause when boot alert display. Boot information display mode. We have verbose and terse. Let's do terse. Video mode, color or monochrome. Hold that. Save, exit. And let's exit the utility, hit any key to reboot. Alrighty. And let the card come up and see what it spits up on the screen. Q and VM. Here we go. Don't think that changed ever. I don't think that changed anything in the menu. And we're going to let it scan for devices this time. It's going to say this, and then it's going to go ahead and scan the entire SCSI bus. And there we go. It handed control off to the system. We're going to let it boot up and check back. Alrighty, I moved the camera to the other side so y'all can see it better. Let's scan. Oh, hey, it found the drive. Reading data from the device. Alrighty. Firmware revision S24D. OBDR supported. Worm is not supported. There is no media in the device. Let me see. Okay, data. Let's run the health tool. Okay. That's not going to work. Yes. That's on a utility thing. Drive config utility, firmware tape creator, LTO firmware to data tape converter, and tape erase. Firmware tape creator, no. Let one for drive config utility. Alrighty. Don't want any of that. Test. And what's number 2? Full tape?